that's coming out.
Hi. Yeah, good to be
Hi.
here.
What was it that attracted you to want to sign on and direct this film?
Well, we read the book, or Parker did, and sent it over to me. And um, the book written by Michael Farris Smith, who also adapted it into a screenplay. It's so cinematic. Like you read it, and the images. Sometimes you read a book, and it's just the images come off the page. And on top of it being a very image centric book, the through line was very clear, and it was about this isolated individual who had a very clear goal. And despite there being a lot of darkness in his journey and a lot of grit and violence, at the end of the day, the book had to do with the love between a mother and a son. And that was, I think, what really spoke to us about it. That duality of the light and the dark. And also the area that it was filmed in Mississippi. It has such an interesting history and an interesting culture. There's so much that's wrapped up in its history, and the rage and the oppression, but also the joy and the perseverance in that area. And there's just a lot of drama in that part of the world, and I think that really spoke to us.
Well, since you touched the location, it was in Mississippi. I was intrigued also with the homes, which I think are two additional characters. Big Mama's home, the house that's like it's gorgeous, but then also the house that's Jack's that he's trying to save. So how did you find these locations?
Yeah, the we shot the film in Natchez, Mississippi, and that's one of the few places in the South that still has a lot of what they call antebellum homes that still exist. And that was because when the North came down, they were burning most of these towns to the ground. But Natchez, because it housed Union soldiers during the Civil War and kind of lent them a hand, they decided to spare the homes there. So to this day, there's still a lot of these homes that exist. And so we scouted for a while to find Jack's childhood home, because that was very, I think we all had the same image from reading the novel. And one of our executive producers, Tate Taylor, he kind of took us around to a bunch of the people he knew. And we were looking at house after house, and then we one day just pulled down the driveway and we said, this is it. um, big mama's Big Mama's home was definitely a little bit trickier, because the book paints it in a little bit of a different light, and we decided to change it. And so, because partly because we just couldn't find what exactly was in the novel. So, like a lot of adaptations, sometimes you have to change. And so we had to be a little creative there, and we found another old antebellum on the cliff that looked over the Mississippi River. And it was a little bit worn down, but it was just perfect. And one of the interesting things was that house actually has homes right next door to it, but a little bit of movie magic, we had to make it look like it was in the middle of the Delta, surrounded by nothing but woods.
I was impressed with the scene where they have like the fire around it. I know Jack said, no, Annette says to Jack, like, there's no place for anybody. But I'm thinking I wouldn't mind parting it there because it's different.
Yeah, it's funny. So Michael Farris Smith, when he came up with the whole idea of the land of Big Mama Sweet, this place where people go to get their fix and get their kicks. And one of the most common questions that he got during his book tour was, "So tell me, is the land of Big Mama Sweet like a real place? Like, can we go?" And he hasn't told anyone the real answer. But yeah, when we went to make this film, that was something that we really wanted to make sure that we had, that it's not just a place that's scary and it's filled with dark energy, that it's actually it's a place of business, and there's a reason why people go there. Like, it's a fun place to be. And so when we were filming it, we made sure that everyone in background and all the extras and whatnot were actually having a fun time. We let people party a bit, and then we just filmed it, so it was fun.
I love it. I mean, sometimes someone's nightmare can be someone's joy. So you never know.
Absolutely. I think I'd love to be partying at Big Mama's. I wouldn't necessarily want to be fighting in her cage, though.
Exactly. You're bringing up that scene too. So how was it to film that scene? How long did it take, the preparation?
Yeah, the final fight, I mean, in some ways it took a really long time because we needed to figure out what tonally, the mark was that we wanted to hit. There's a lot of different ways we could have gone with it, but we ended up wanting the end to have a sort of David and Goliath feel to it, where the sort of tactical ability of someone who is the underdog, is up against the brute strength of someone who's much larger than them, which we felt like was a good metaphor for Jack's life journey, because of the cards that he got dealt when he was really young, and he was abandoned as a child and, bullied on the playground and all the rest. When we got closer to shooting, we had a few days of rehearsal that we had planned, but Hurricane Ida hit right as those rehearsal days were supposed to happen, and Aaron Eckhart actually got basically trapped in the house he was in because there was a small stream that you had to drive over, and it turned into this gushing river, so we couldn't really get him out. And so he showed up on the day that we were starting to film the final fight, and we did not have nearly as much rehearsal as we had planned on. So there was a lot of improvisation. There was a lot of, compromise and just figuring out, okay, so what do you do best, Aaron? Because he has a fighting background. So we ended up, and I think it's for the better, we ended up just working with what he was able to do and what rested well in his bones and he had a history with, as opposed to getting him to learn new movements. And I think that it comes across that the movement in the final fight feels very natural to him because it was. And so it was one of those happy accidents.
And it's been fun for him also to kind of go back to something he was familiar to.
Totally. Yeah, we were really happy to hear that he had a fighting background because fighters just have a way of moving and reacting to the world around them that it's hard to teach. There's a reaction time and sort of a hyper awareness. It's funny when you think about a fighter. Sometimes I think, that they'd be almost tense because they're always ready for anything. But what I learned, and what I think we learned from our discussions with our stunt department and with Eckhart is that in order to really react, you actually have to be incredibly relaxed. It's almost like channeling your inner animal. If you see a lion or something that's hunting, they're not all tense. They're really relaxed. And so that was a really cool lesson to learn, and something that I think makes Aaron's performance, when he's in the cage, it's almost like when he's in the cage, that's when he's the most relaxed out of any other time in the movie, which was really cool to see.
Well, thank you so much for your time, both.
Thank you so much. Good chatting.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.